going to talk about what's new in model risk, right? And why is that? Because since the last time that we did an introduction to model risk demonstration, a lot of things came out, and we don't want to let time pass by without telling you what it is and with showing you all these new features that you have in model risk, right? So a little bit about, I think that everybody here, I see it's all people that we know from a long time ago. So about Vose software, you have more than 25 years of expertise in quantitative risk analysis. And one of the flagship products that they have, and it is ModelRisk, the one that we're going to see today, which is Monte Carlo simulation in Excel, right? The product now has almost 20 years, right? And we are happy to partner with them. On the other hand, we are part of the Fairfield Group, Jason and I, and we do risk modeling and consulting services, meaning that if you have or if you need help building or assessing or reviewing, auditing the model, that's exactly what we do. And we're based out of London, but in this case, Jameson, as he said, he's in the US, I'm in Ecuador in South America, and that's how we try to cover a lot of the different portions and different parts of the world. We have a network of consultants that can help you in case you're not in these areas as well. Here are some of our clients, and the main idea is that we can help you again with your risk modeling and consulting. Now, let's jump directly into it, right? What is new in Model Risk version 9.2.4? First of all, where do I see that, right? Because this was something that I think was important. If you go here to this page, right, you will see, I just sent it to you in the chat, you will see where is and what is the newest version of Model Risk. And most likely you will find things that perhaps you were looking for and you didn't know it happened. So if you like, please bookmark this page. See, because you have many things here. You see 9.1.5, 9.1.4, for example, they generated a highlight tool, they generated goal seek, extreme scenario analysis, and impact analysis. These are the three things that we're going to see today, right? Or four things that we're going to see today, right? Like this. Plus, you have many other options like functional updates to time series, code optimization, Bose-Net visualization in the Copilot windows, simulation statistic functions for computing tail, conditional, etc. So please feel free to reach out if you need explanation about all of this, or if you're trying it because you see that there are many new things to see, right? So that's one thing, because we realized that not everybody would know that in this website you can see what we call the change log, right? What is it that comes marginally with each and every one of the new versions of ModelRisk. Now, as you all know, ModelRisk only has one version. You see that other products, they have the professional, the super, the industrial, etc. ModelRisk, the nice thing is it only has one version. And that version will let you run all the functionality that we're going to show today. So this is not only for one version, this is for Model Risk in general, right? So I'll start with a very new one, right? That it's really simple. It's called the highlight button, which you have here, right? This highlight button, what it does, if you go to settings, here in the settings, it will let you see inputs, outputs, distribution, copy-last, time series, etc. And you can change, right, if they are going to be bold, what is the text color, what is the fill color, etc. In this case, the model that I will show, the only thing that has as probabilistic, if you like, is an output that you have here. You see, it's the Bose output for the NPV, which you have here. So if I click on highlight, what's going to happen is that this cell is going to be highlighted. That's it, as an output. I don't have inputs yet, right? And that's one thing. I'm going to use this model to show one of the nicest options that we have here in ModelRisk. I'm going to turn it off, and then when I go to simulation, I'll turn it on again. This function is called impact analysis. This one here. So what it does, let me show it to you in 1 second, right? Let me jump directly into it, right? We saw the highlight option, the impact analysis. So what it does, it runs a sensitivity analysis on the model, right? And it's ideal, and that's how we recommend it. You can, of course, run it whenever you like, but it's ideal that when you want to run an analysis of the model before the simulation process to understand which are the main variables. Let's say that you have a model that has hundreds of variables and you want to see which are the main ones, right? Then you have to select an output and then run a what if scenario for the variable. And this is, of course, I'm not going to explain all of that, but this is exactly what it does, right? It takes, let's say that you have two variables. Let's say I'm just going to go with variable A, which is 100, and it varies that for plus and minus 10%. And then you see what happens in the results of the model, right? And maybe this is the NPV that we're going to calculate. And then you do the same for variable B, variable D, variable C, etc. And then depending on the changes that you have in the overall input of the model, that's why you need this output cell, for example, in my NPV, right? Depending on which variable drives the highest impact, it will be the longest bar, the biggest bar, right? That's what it happens. So it's really nice. It's really easy to run, and I will show it right away. So you go here to model. If you were a user of at risk, this is similar to top rank, but with the main difference that in this case you don't have a separate application. You have an application that is inside, right? That's the similar if in case you were familiar with that, right? So you go to model, impact analysis, right? Remember that I already set up the output, and I will say, well, which are going to be my inputs? So what I can do, I can scan it, right? Depending if your model is so big, it's really good. Right now, I'm going to add the inputs because what I did, and on purpose, I set up the model with my inputs here, like this, right? I will first generate the model only with these inputs, and then I will add more inputs here, right? So I will do the model impact analysis here, add the inputs. So that means that for all these variables, I'm not going to move the interest rate. I'm just going to do it from all these variables like this, you see? You have the name on each one of them, right? You see that they don't have a formula for the name. It just took the name from here, right? From the cell that was to the left, right? And what is it that we're going to do? For each one of them, we're going to do a percentage. You see, as I show you here, plus and minus 10%. That's exactly what we're going to do here. You see, plus and minus 10%, right? Using a uniform distribution, and we're going to do it in 5 steps. What does it mean? That, for example, if you have $1 million here for the initial investment, what I'm going to do, I'm going to run in 5 steps. I'm going to run minus 10% of that, minus 5%, 0%, meaning that no changes, 5% and 10%, like this. So these are the 5 steps that I will do. I will use 5 steps. So that means that I will reduce the 1 million by 10%, meaning that that's going to be 900,000. Right? Run it, calculate the NPV, right? And save it, right, in memory. And I will do that for each and every one of these numbers. You see? So there is no simulation process here. This is just sensitivity analysis. You can do this by hand if you like. What I totally rescue here is the capability of automating this process. Of course, if you want to get a little bit more complicated, you can change the distribution that you will use. But I will say, let's go first with the uniform distribution. And also here you have, you see, if you like, you can do a custom parameters for each one of the cells. Right now, I'm going to apply the same to all of them. But if you like, what you can do, you can say, well, I just don't want the parameters to be in 5 steps, but in 15 or 10 steps. And for this particular variable, I want to be minus 10% and minus 20, you see, or plus 20. Or you have a custom table of values if you like, right? So you can really, really make it customized, right? So I'm not going to do that yet. I'm just going to do the plain analysis, right? Like this. And for all these variables, what I will do, I will run the analysis, and this is going to generate a report. This report, you have the settings here, right? And it says, you want a new workbook or not? You want it to split by output or not? Because I only have one output, right? You want the input deviations, details, etc., right? And you have here the colors, if you like, right? The background, the titles, etc., right? So I'll do that, right? If I'm not mistaken, you have to select which inputs you're going to run, right? Otherwise, it doesn't know. And you start the analysis. Remember, this is not going to run a simulation, but this is going to run for each one of these variables. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times 5. So it's going to recalculate the model 50 times, right? Then you start the analysis here. It runs very quickly. Here, it's generating the tornado chart, it's generating all of that, right? And you will have it like that. So you will have two ways of looking at the results. One is here. You see that automatically I have the result here, and I know that the main variable in my model is the price per unit. You see, even though the investment is bigger in magnitude, remember, because it has 1 million, it is not the variable that changes the NPV the most. And you can see that here, you see. If I change the price per unit minus 10%, this is going to affect the NPV in minus 48%. It's the same thing if I increase it 10%, and not with the initial investment, for example, here, right? If you like, because you see that now I have the output here, so I can come back and see the same tornado chart. The nice thing about this tornado chart, imagine that you're doing this in a real model that you have, right? In a big model that you have. So what you can do here, this is going to give you focus. For example, which distributions am I going to analyze? So if you have 200 distributions in your model, this is going to give you the top 10 or the top 20, right? That's the main idea. So this is really helpful if you like to focus on the distributions that you need, right? What else you have here? You have the detailed table of that. You see, you have here the minus 48% with the value of the price unit. You see plus 10, minus 10%, how much it changes, etc. And this is the input value. You see, the input value here was minus 18. The input value was, I'm sorry, it was 18 and the other was 22. Same thing with initial investment. Remember that I said 900 to 1.1 million, etc., etc. Then you have the input analysis, which is more or less the same thing that you had there. And if you like, you can do it by input. You see what happened with this, right? The minimum, the maximum, what was the change for each one of them, like that. So you have a complete report of all the things that you did with that. So I will leave it there, right? And what I can do, I can come back again, let's say the impact analysis. And what I can say here is for the initial investment, right? Change it, but from minus 20 to plus 20%. You see, because now you know which is the range where this can change, right? Plus 20, minus 20, right? Let me see which was the other one. Let me see here. For example, the depreciation is one, the distribution cost or the product variable cost, for example. For the product variable cost, I go here and you say, I am going to do minus 10% plus 30%. Or minus 5, because you know that this can go up because of the product. You see, so you can generate customizations here, and then you can start the analysis and run it again, like this. So you see that this is an application inside the application, right? That's what I really like about this, because remember, I haven't done anything yet, right? I don't have any distributions. You see, what happened here is that now the initial investment is the most important variable. Why? Because I did it minus 20 plus 20. So of course, you have a larger extremes, and combined with the high magnitude, this is going to be first. Then you have the price unit is going to come second. Remember that here the price unit was the first one. Now it comes second. Then you have the product variable, the one that I did -5 plus 30. You see, that's why you have this asymmetrical bar, right? Because I did -5 plus 30%, right? That is why. And then you have all the information again, right? So what is my recommendation? Because I don't want to go, and I don't have the time to go for each and every one of them very, very in detail, is that you take a look to the impact analysis, right? It is a very, very simple one. You have the option again to scan the inputs. You can customize the deviations, right? Like this. You can customize the deviations. You can change the distributions here, etc. You can change the report. So my recommendation would be do it in any model that you have before you run a simulation. Then for the top 10 distributions, for example, that you get here for the top 10 variables, then you do the analysis of the distributions for those top 10. And that is going to be a really good solution, right? That's going to give you focus, right? So this is one of the main options, right? I'm going to close this file, right? If you like, as always, let me open it here, and then I will see here. I think this was it. Let me open it, right? If you like these models, as always, you can write to me to gustavo@ferryfieldgroup.com, right? And say that you were here, and I can send it to you. But this will work with any model in Excel, so don't you worry, right? Now, second one. What we're going to do, we're going to utilize something that it's called the extreme scenario analysis, and I will show it to you what it is. The extreme scenario analysis is going to focus on defined portions of the distributions. That means that, for example, if we're talking costs, and basically this is stressing the model, right? Let's say that this is cost, this is, let's say, the production cost, right? So one thing is that you run the simulation as a whole like this, so you have all the different variables that could be there, the range, the complete range. And this one here, for example, you can focus on the P70 to P100. Why? Because this is in this case, a pessimistic scenario, right? Why is it a pessimistic scenario? Because the production cost was much, much higher than the one that you expected. So instead of generating a different model with different parameters in the distribution, you can just say, focus only on these percentiles. Like this, for costs, high percentiles. For revenue, for example, what happened with revenue? Let's generate a distribution like this. For revenue, a stressing scenario, right, will be that the revenue is here, right, like this, like that. So that will be another way of doing that. Of course, if you want to stress the potential lows or the potential issues with the model, of course you can do the opposite, which is what's happening in the very optimistic scenario, right? What happens if my costs are so low here, right? What happens if my costs are so low that they are here? So how much am I going to make, right? And then you can play with that. That's the main idea, right? That you can play with that. So here you can go to this is the same model that I used before, but you see that now I added distributions on top of that, right? It's the same logic of the model. The model has an initial investment, right? You have a product cost and a variable cost, a price per unit, right? How much you sell, the administrative expenses per unit, the sales costs, commissions and all that, the distribution cost, depreciation, and a tax rate, like this. So if you move, as you would expect, right? You will have this for the next, I think it's 36 months. So this is a monthly model. See here, right? A monthly model. And what you will have, right, is an NPV calculated here that could be positive or negative. You see that the majority of times is positive. It's very close to zero, right? But there are only a few times where it is negative, right? And we're going to run a simulation, a regular simulation, just to see that, right? Here you have the minimum, most likely maximum for each one of them, right? I will put it in ranges, -5 to 15 or -5 to 10, etc. And we have here the periods of the total units sold, like the one that we have here, right? And what we do is you just divide it by 6. So each period is 6 months, and this is the amount of units sold in 6 months, right? Like this, and this is the NPV. Remember, if you use the highlight option that you had before, right? You do it like this. You see, now this is a highlight, this is highlighted, this is highlighted. Like this, if you just turn it off, they will come back to the original color, right? So it depends on how you like to use it, but I really like that now it's very prominent. Before it was more hidden. So I'm going to run a simulation, only 1,000 iterations. And what's going to happen is that, let me see here. I think you run it. Let's see. Yeah. So what's going to happen is that, of course, I will have my NPV plot. And of course, if you haven't seen it, so many changes have happened here in the graphical capabilities. You see that now you have these markers, again, very prominent because people were always using them. So for example, what happens if I don't want to show my sliders? That's perfect here. And I want to show the 0, right? I want to show a 0 marker. So I have to edit the marker, right? Like this. I can add it and say this is going to be in 0. Like that. It's going to have a different color like this, a red color, right? It's going to be like this. It's going to have a big weight. So hopefully it's going to be very easy to look at, like this. And of course, we're talking about 10 to the 5th. So this is very technical. So what I'm going to come here to do, I go to the X options and say format, scale thousands, like this. So it's going to be simple, you see. So you have a 2% probability, right, of being negative. You see, only 2% of the time my NPV is negative, as you saw when I was running the simulation very quickly, right? Now, you can eliminate the legends if you like, etc. Now, what you can do, you can come here to the model, to the extreme scenario analysis, right, like this. You can say add an input distribution. So, for example, here, what if I go to add an input distribution like this? You see, select the range to scan. I will just do it with 1 so we understand what we're doing, right? Here's my distribution. I'm sorry, like this. This is my distribution. And what you can do is it says limit it's going to be the percentile, right? From the, what we did before, 70 to the 100 percentile, like this. So when I run the analysis, this is not going to run, remember as before, only static comparisons. Now it's going to run a simulation. So this is going to actually run 2 simulations. One is the baseline simulation, the one that we just saw. And the second one is going to run the simulation with the cost distribution, with investment distribution, but only focus here in the P70 to P100. So it's going to run twice. And this is going to tell me how is this going to change, right? So I will run the start analysis here. And it says select a single formula for the output. Remember, my output is going to be my NPV, like this. Let me see if I can, because it goes very quickly. So let me, here you go. It's generating the report, the comparisons, like this. See, and what it did, it ran 2 simulations. Let me show it here, like this. So the baseline, you see, the mean was 222,000. But the initial investment, you see, because it was very high, you see how the mean diminished, and that's okay. The minimum was much to the left. The maximum was smaller, the mode, etc. I have a box plot comparison here. Sometimes I have this, right? So we have a box plot. You see what happened. This was the baseline, and this was all going down, right, because of that. And we have some comparisons here as well, right? The mean change in the baseline, because I have only one variable, right? It looks like this. Or if you like, because you see that this is a new output, this is a new sheet, so I can close it, right? But what I can do, I can go to the results, see, and I will have the 2 scenarios. You see, one scenario is going to be the baseline, like this. And I'm not going to show the sliders, but I will show the markers. So let me add the 0 that we had before, right? Right, the 0, let me change the factor as well. Right, so make it in thousands like this, right? And I can put here, right, the second one. You see that only changing the initial investment and making it emphasize the percentile 70 to 100, it increased the probability of being negative in 3%. I can take a look and see it like that as well. You see, it's easier. So now it's from 1 to 4%. So that means that if that variable changes, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have 3% more probability that's going to be bad, right? That's going to be negative. If you like, you can add more. For example, I can go to the extreme scenario analysis here, add input distributions. Maybe I will add 2 or 3, like for example, the product fixed cost, the variable, like this. So I'm just going to focus on the cost, like that. So you see, let me see here. Let me add one. Oh, I'm sorry, I was doing that here. It should be here. Here you go. So for all of them, I'm going to put the default, right? I'm not going to change it. As I did with the impact analysis, right? I can change that here. For example, and I will do the last one, and that's why I wanted to show you. For example, what happens with the price, right? I have the price here. So you see, the price is going to be by B9, right? And what's going to happen that here I have to customize it, because in the price, I don't want to be the very high price. I want to be the low price. So this could be from maybe P10 to P40, for example, right? So it's different. These 3 are costs. This 4th is the price. Why is it that you don't have the names here? Because I didn't put the exact name in each one of them. So that's why you don't see it like that. Now, if I run it, let me run it again. Select the formula for the output, which is the NPV here. And this is going to run the 4 simulations. Let's see, did I click? I think I clicked. Yes, it's working now. It's comparison, the histogram, the CDFs, etc. Like that. So you see that for each one of the scenarios, it doesn't. So you see that for the baseline, it goes very, very low here from P70 to P100 is going to be like that. For the fixed cost, what happens, right? For the variable cost, what happens? Take a look here. It goes to minus 68 to 512. And the price, what happens with the price? And then you have the box plot. And you see which one is the variable that generates harm. You see that this one here in the investment, I think this is the one that hurts the most. You see, the others you can compare. But the nice thing is that you can run these things that could be something that you will try to run by hand, right? This will take you a lot of time to generate this by hand, right? So the main idea is that you can automate it like this. And if you like, right, you can take a look here in the results view. And now you will have all these, you see, you have all of them together. So if you like, you can see them like this, right? And see which one is the one that is hurt you the most, right? Like that. So you see how simple it was to run extreme scenario analysis. So it's always going to show, and this is important, right? It's always going to show each one of the variables that we set up, each one is going to be a different scenario, right? I already spoke with the development team of Vose, and they told me that they are working in one scenario that combines them all. That means that this is going to be, for example, this distribution here, and then you have another distribution here. So one scenario that combines these two like this, because right now you see that it's one scenario each, which is great. I really like it because it's really great that you're able to do that. And everything is translated to the same model. So remember that you have, as with the model analysis, you have the capability of setting up different portions of the distributions for each one of them, right? So that's, again, a different model, right? So I'm going to close this model, open it again, so it forgets the the distribution scenarios. Let me run one simulation here. I'm going to show you the last one, which is called the whole goal seek. And this is, again, the previous one, if you like the stress scenario analysis in at-risk or Palisade, this is exactly what you had here. And now the goal seek is the same probabilistic goal seek that you can do from here, right? So I think that I just run one simulation. Here you go, I have one simulation. And what you can do here, remember what the goal seek is going to let you do, is that you see that you have a very positive scenario, because the probability of being 0, it was like 2%. So it is very positive. So maybe what you can do is, you see, like you can give it a little bit more of leeway and say, well, maybe I will do something that gives me 90% probability being negative. Why? Because I want more features, meaning that I want to invest a little bit more. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to change this, for example, for the 1 million, right? You're going to make it static, because this is the objective cell, right? I'm going to change, I'm sorry, this is the decision cell. I'm going to change this cell in order to create a curve, right, where the 0 equals to 10%. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So let me show it to you. In the goal seek, you have two things to do. And here I have it into this presentation, so you can write to me and I will send you the presentation. First of all, you have the target, right, which is the result that you expect. And the second one is the variable that you're going to move, right? So you have the target here, right? So let me show you what you can do with the target. So here you says that the location is the NPV, remember? The NPV, right? And what you can say is that your percentile, you see, the target with the value 0, you have to the right, you have 90%. Basically, that's what you're saying, is that you have your value here, 0. So everything that you have to the right of your value is going to be 90%, which is what we want to do, right? Because we want the P10, right? Otherwise, you can do it like this, right? Target less or equal than 10%. You can do it like this as well, right? Now, what you can do, and it says, where is the input? I mean, what is the variable that I'm going to move? And here you choose the location of this. It's 1 million, like that, right? And what's the minimum and maximum? I wouldn't recommend you to go through minus infinity to plus infinity because of the super enormous range. So maybe you will say, maybe this will go from 900,000 to, I don't know, 2.5 million. Real numbers, right? Otherwise, it doesn't make much more sense. And here, what this is going to do is going to change this value, right? It's going to change the B6, the initial investment value, and it's going to find a solution after running lots of simulations, right? Where you have your P10 equal or less than 0, like it's going to be here. Remember, target value 0, you have 10%. So to the left of 10, let's say that you have 10, this is going to be to the left, this is going to be, I'm sorry, this is going to be 0, and you will have 10% of the distribution to the left, right? I think that I'm doing it right, right? And then you start the analysis. Here you have a maximum number of simulations that is 100. So imagine you can run this for a long time and you can find more. So remember, we're looking for one variable here. We're reverse engineering the model and saying, what's the investment limit that I have that is going to help me find the answer? You see, and it says the solution was found here. And you see here in the solution details, right? Like that. Take a look here. This is the solution details. You see? So in the solution details, it says I have this 1.12 million. That's going to take me to 0.999. This is the accuracy after 13 simulations, right? So what you can do, you can apply the solution like this. It says apply this 1.119 million, and you can say yes. And this is going, you see, now it changed to 1.19. like that. So if you run the simulation with this number, let me show it to you, right? What's going to happen, you see, is that now your 0 is very close, is very, very close to 10%. And that's how we want it, right? So now you can have a way for one variable, because that's goal seek, for one variable to run, and then you can find some solutions. Why is that? Because the model was extremely positive, right? So when you do these extremely positive models, sometimes it's because you're sacrificing some features. In this case, I was able to add almost 10% to it, right? And then I got a 10% probability of being negative, which is really, really good in this particular project, right? So that's the main idea with this three main options. So these three options are, if you have, of course, your license available, you can just come here, go to About, and I think that here you can take a look to the version number. So remember, I have 924. This is the one that that I have now. I think that in help or in settings here, you do the check for update. That's the one that I was looking for. You check for updates, but remember that at the first one, right, is the when I first show you, this is the one that tells you, remember in this website, it tells you that you have the latest version, which is 924, right? The apply button, Tracy, is here. You go to Goal Seek, and this is the apply solution button here, right? So these are the three things that I wanted to show you today. Now, there's a bonus track here, so let me close it here. Let me open a very simple model that I built, this NPV example. So hopefully it works. And I was just talking and making fun with Jameson, because sometimes you just run out of tokens, and now you know what I'm talking about. So this is a very simple NPV model, right? Let me make sure that it's calculated well. So you have the NPV calculation, a very simple one like this, right? So what ModelRisk generated, it's here in the, I'm going to send you this, right? They generated, well, what it's called, if you're into AI, and particularly cloud, right? It's called an MCP server, right? That means that this is, of course, in development. It's version 0.3.10, I guess, and the stable is 0.3.2, right? But if you have cloud desktop, like the one, this application here, right? It says Andres because this is my brother. I needed some tokens, so I needed to lend them from him, because I just run out of tokens trying and rehearsing this for today, right? So what you could do, and this is outstanding, is that you can connect. You see that I connected it. I just did in settings. I downloaded, and here in the website that I just sent you, I downloaded what it's called an extension. It's called a ModelRisk extension that you have here, and you can configure this extension. Right? You can say, well, what do I want to do? List the workbooks, get the active workbook, and see, you see, and then you can select or not all of them, right? You have some selected, or you have your hand there. That means that it will ask you every time. You see, needs approval. If you like, you can do an always allow, and that's what I'm going to do now, because of the it's a demonstration only, right? Now, what you can do, as it's already configured like this, you can say, remember that I have let me eliminate this, so you will see. Hopefully, this is going to be working, right? It's going to generate this on the fly. It will say from the open workbook, right? On the current workbook, open, list the inputs and outputs for ModelRisk. This is a simple one. Of course, the model, I created a model using this as well. And I said, I want you to create this model, use a per distribution, use etc., etc. So you can create the distributions as well, right? And you see what it does. It uses the ModelRisk integration, you see, and it generates for you the distribution. You have a discount rate, you have initial investment, the revenues, row grade, etc. This is the NPV, right? If you like, you can say generate a cost estimation model, for example, and say and add normal distributions like this, and it will do it for you as well. So of course, I don't know if I like this that much, right? Why is that? Because normally we ourselves like to create our own distributions, right? But the nice thing is what I rescue from here is the structure, and that you can have a prototype very quickly, right? Set it up like this, right? And it's very well built. That's what I really like, right? Remember that you have the highlight here. I'm sorry. You have the highlight. You have here if you don't like these graphics inside the distributions, remember that you can always take them out here, the results spark lines like this, right? And then you can run the simulation and you will see it. Now, what you can do, and this is something I like, remember that for the model construction, you can use Claude or you do it on your own, right? In this case, for example, this was completely built by Claude, but you can do it on your own. You see that how to see if you're connected, you just say, give me the list of input and outputs. And you say, okay, so I have it connected with this. And you just have to download the file that it's in these structures there. If you need help, you can just write to me and I'll help you with that, right? Then you can say, run a simulation of, right, of 1,000 iterations. And give me a table, right? Or show me a table with the main results, right? So this is going to run the simulation, and this is what I really like about this, right? Because you can run it from here, and that means that you can automate things, right? What it's going to do when you run the simulation, this is going to generate a simulation result file. I will show it to you, right? It runs the simulation. You see that you don't have to touch the interface. That's what I like about this, right? And if everything works fine, you see, you get the simulation results. And this is what I really like, because you can start talking with the model, right? Before, you need to go to Excel and take a look, but sometimes this is really good, you see? Because you see the median, the mean, etc. You see that you have a minimum. So well, you can say about, you see, about that's exactly what I was going to ask, about a 10% chance NPV goes negative, right? To break even, etc. Right, like this. So you can say, generate a tornado and histogram graphics in Excel for me to show, right? And this is going to create the tornado chart and the histogram into the Excel sheet if you like. So you see that you have two use cases here, right? One use case is that you can talk with the model, which is what I really like, and this is what I will rescue the most, right? Because I like to touch the buttons and all that. But the other, if you don't have the time, you can just say, well, generate the tornado and the histogram because I don't have the time, right? And you can do it like that, right? So let me take a look here. You see, let's say, oh, what happened? No input found for sensitivity. Okay, so let's see what happened there. Let's see what happened there. Maybe it was because it was with the Vose input, but I think that I did it okay. Okay, so maybe there was something wrong, but I think that you saw it when I eliminated it. It was the first time it created them correctly, right? Oh, here you go. So now, if I go to the sheet, you see, I will have the tornado chart. Oh, this is the one that it didn't work, and this is the one that it worked. You see, I have the histogram, and the tornado chart, this is the one that it didn't work. And let's see why. It says successfully tornado chart empty. This is a model risk simulation. You enable collect sample values. This computer, it's okay, right? It's okay. I'm not going to go deep into that, right? What else can I do, right? So how do I, because this is, I think, the place where I like this the most. How do I explain these results to an audience that is not fully versed, right, into simulation, considering the results I have? Like this. I'm going to answer you in a minute. Yes, sir, in a minute. Right? So it says, how do I explain a good approach? And then you see, you have that. Lead with the story, not with stats. We run a future scenarios, most land between this and this, but typical result. Use the histogram, name the downside risk, etc. Or you see, generate a 1-paragraph explanation for my presentation about the results of the model. This is what I really like of the model. Use simple sentences. Don't get statistic, right? Mention about the NPV being negative only 10% of the time. Right? Make it concise and simple to read, right? Like this. So in that case, now we're talking about result interpretation, which is normally one of the biggest obstacles to get this working. You see, like this. Right? Between this and that, 10% scenarios, etc. Right? So this is what you can do. Now I know, because if you go here to the address that I sent you, right, the ModelRisk MCP, it gives you all the instructions to set it up, right? Which is here, right? You have to do the pip install. You have to do that. So if you need it, definitely I will help you with that. Here you go. You see, wiring to cloud desktop. You need to install it like this, right? And the one that I use, right? You just go here at the very end. Let's see here. Where is it? Bear with me 1 second, because it's here. You can download the extension, the Cloud Desktop extension. This is the one that I did. So you go to this page, and you see exactly to the change log right here. So this is, I'm answering to Yasir right now, right? So if you go there, you go to the very end of everything, right? And then you can go and download this MCPB, right? Which are, this is an extension to install in Cloud Desktop, right? And then you go here to extensions or settings, extensions, and then you browse it. You see browse it, and then you add ModelRisk. And that's it, you see? So this is the one that is going to let you use it. So now you have another tool, and this is one that I really like. You have all the different, the different, again, change log. You see that they were starting to do this in May, and right now you have this in July. This was like 10 days ago. So these they are actively doing things, and you see that they have the fitting time series, demo galleries, arraying functions, etc., etc. So this is in a very quick pace of development. So this is the fourth tool that I wanted to show you today, right? One, remember, is the model impact, the extreme scenarios, the goal seek, and now the MCP server. So let me see if there's some question from you're currently doing the rare more risk. I'm not sure. Maybe Tracy, because I'm not sure what's happening with the installation. So maybe you can just write to me, and I can derive you to the support team. But just in case you have issues with the latest version. So, but thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. So you see that now you have many different ways of doing that, right? I'm not sure if you have more questions. I know, Yasir, hopefully I answer you. You need the, you can do this with Cloud Desktop free. You can do that with Cloud Desktop free. I was doing that. That's why I ran out of tokens, because I did a lot of examples, right? But if you have the Cloud Desktop paid, it's even better, even with the $20 version, which is the one that I'm using right away, right? Not sure if you have more questions. I know that Yasir is typing. Okay, yeah, please let me know, Yasir. And for everybody, this is totally new. You have my email. Remember, it's Gustavo@ferryfieldgroup.com. So let me know if you have any questions, or if you need to set up the MCP server, or if you need my help with anything, more than happy to set up a call with you and help you with that, because this is outstanding. So I know we're almost in the hour. Thanks so much for staying with us, and thanks. I see, I know, familiar faces. I see Rodrigo again. Thanks for coming. Tracy, as always. Yasir, and of course to the rest of you, very nice to meet you. And this is home for you. So come whenever you need, and contact us. More than happy to help you guys.